Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and Spotify to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 389 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Alan Sokoloff, and if you want to hear the story of how we make chiropractic professional, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today we have Dr. Alan Sokoloff coming in from Baltimore, Maryland. And today I am coming in from Denver, Colorado. New change, new background, same show. This is episode 389, and I'm over the moon excited about this conversation about chiropractic today. But before we get started, I'll let you guys know the big why. Why do we do what we do with Chiro Hustle? Well, we do protect free speech. And as you know, right now, it's more than ever that we need to protect free speech, especially in the medical arena of chiropractic. We do support subluxation-based chiropractors, innate intelligence, and universal intelligence. So when a person gets adjusted, it connects man or woman, the physical to man or woman, the spiritual, which is some really cool stuff. And then we do support and protect the sacred trust. BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. If you don't know what it is, go to your favorite search engine right now and find out what that is. And then you'll have more of a resonance for why we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle. But today it's Dr. Allen, and I'm really excited to have you on the show. Welcome to Chiro Hustle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. And I really believe that this is the most impactful part of our show, which is the big story behind it, of your story, your chiropractic story. I already told you what our why is. People know why we do what we do. We're 389 episodes deep. So people know what we're doing with chiropractic, but your friends, your family, your colleagues, when they search for you, now they're going to find your interview with Chiro Hustle, which we have a high level SEO ranking. So when people do a search for anybody that's associated with our show, they get a chance to listen to this episode. So I'm really proud of that. So let's lead in with your story, your chiropractic story, and tell people how you got into working in this beautiful profession.
Well, I started I started out in undergrad. I was going to go into pharmacy and pharmaceutical advertising, which is like the total opposite end of the spectrum. And then I realized I was horrible at chemistry, even though I had to take it anyway. And I investigated other healthcare professions, radiology, physical therapy, all of which at the time were very hospital based. And I just didn't want to work in a hospital after doing volunteer stuff there. So I found chiropractic here in Maryland. I'm originally from New Jersey. And the average age of a chiropractor at the time here in Maryland was 55. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's good for me. So I started looking at chiropractic and found it was a combination of everything that I wanted to do. Finished at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, went out to Palmer Davenport, finished up there and had a great run out there. I was very fortunate to go when I went and do it with who I did. The brotherhood of the Palmer rugby team helped kind of set me on my way and understanding and getting involved in sports chiropractic. And here I am today.
Yeah. And the story continues. You've been working with the NFL, and how long have you been working with the NFL? And tell us a little bit about that chapter of your life.
Well, I think before we even get to that chapter, and it's for me, people understand and can grasp what chiropractors do when they can see it happen on the big screen. when they can feel it in performance. And I always thought that sports was the best way to introduce chiropractic to people. Not just at the NFL level, but at every level. But if it's good enough for all of the major sports, why isn't it good enough for little Johnny? And that's exactly what I love to get on my soapbox about and talk about is what can we as a profession do to help the little Johnnies and the little Janets all over the world. And there just aren't enough chiropractors to handle all the sports related stuff that's going on. But I got involved with the Baltimore Ravens back in 1999, being asked to come in and treat one player who asked for a certain type of technique, an extremity adjusting technique, as well as a couple other things. And so it was player driven that helped me get involved with the Baltimore Ravens.
And extremity adjusting, if people are watching this and they don't know what that means you're adjusting anything that's off the spine. So you're adjusting hands, elbows, feet, knees, hips, and stuff of that nature. So
yes, and the truth be told, this player was extremely well educated by his high school chiropractor, who he had seen as a kid, who he would go back to when he was in college, and he would go back to when he could, full spine adjusting, when he could as a professional. And then once we started coming in, he was treated in a manner that he was accustomed to being treated before.
that's really cool. And that's just it, as you're talking about little Janets and little Johnnies. And this guy was obviously from that group that he was getting chiropractic throughout his athletic career. And why stop when you're a pro?
Well, Jim, I've got to tell you, one of my favorite stories are the people that I've gotten to treat either as kids who become pros or college athletes who become pros and ask for chiropractic care at the next level, and being able to treat them at different levels. Again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning. I just did a speaking gig up in Syracuse, and somebody was in the audience there, and he said he treated this one kid when he was a kid because his kid played with his, and then he went to the University of Maryland to play basketball, and I got to treat him there. And then he's now in the pros, and now with Atlanta, he gets chiropractic care at that level. And this guy from Syracuse flies down every once in a while when their chiropractor is not available, and plus it's kind of a fun gig, to go treat these professional athletes. So again, it all starts with the youth. And here in my community, I'm so into education. We talk about preventing heat-related illness and dehydration. What does that have to do with chiropractic? Absolutely nothing directly. However, it's a way to introduce me to others. I don't go in and say, "Hey, I'm Alan the chiropractor, come see me." It's more of, this is my passion. This is what I do. And if there is something musculoskeletal, if there is a performance enhancement, if there is a health question or concern, I'm more than happy to be that answer person.
I think it's really cool. I love the story that you're sharing with our audience today. Um, I know that you did a radio show for a while too. How did that work for you?
But I did radio, and I don't think, probably a lot of our listeners don't know what a radio is. It was before Al Gore invented the internet. I was on an AM station, 50,000 watts, every week, and it was called Talking Back. But the wild thing was, it was sponsored by the local hospital. My guests were from every profession out there, and it was a way for me to educate others what I do and learn from them as well. Because I think chiropractic schools do a great job of teaching chiropractors how to be the king of their jungle, the king of their office. I don't think they do the best job of teaching us, or at least they didn't back in the day, of how to play in the sandbox with others if you want to. One of our biggest referral sources here in the office are primary care physicians. Why? Because we communicate back what we do. There's no bias, and it's a great interactive, allows us to get our hands on so many more patients that we may not, who may get caught in the system of just medication, surgery without active care. So it's full
So,
circle.
so what you're saying is that local relationship marketing is important.
Oh my gosh. All right. So here's local relationship marketing tip number one. Every single patient that comes into our office, we send their primary care doctor, whether they're referred or not, we send them a start of care letter. Hey, as you may or may not know, because they may have not referred them, uh, Janet Smith presented to our office today with chief complaints of blah, 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 blah. Wanted to make you aware that we're going to treat Janet for this long, and with further evaluation to follow. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me directly. A simple standardized letter, plug in the things that are true to that patient. If I order x-rays or I want x-rays on that patient, I CC the primary care, whether he's referred it or she's referred it or not. Now we're all on the same team. Shows unity to the patient too. And guess what? When time comes around and that patient, quote unquote, is symptomatically doing better, I'm sending a final report to that doctor. As you know, Janet was treated from this date to this date, tolerated care well, home exercises, and released from active care. But then we can shift over to supportive care. Dare I use that word, maintenance type care? Dare I use the words performance enhancement? But again, it's communication in a language that the medical community will help understand.
Well, I love that you set up this routine of redundancy almost to be that much more forthcoming with what you're doing with, you know, shared care. And I believe that that's something that we should all model when it comes to taking care of people is the more that we set a paper trail for the first line of communication to the exit end of communication, it's going to, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I go to my email account and I just search like today, I need your email address. So I searched Alan, and first thing pops up is your email address and all the communications I've had with you. I can't tell you how vital that is to somebody's record keeping just to be able to have access to something like that for their digital health, and that they can have that as a resource for if something else does come up. Or if the doc has questions that they're in there for their visit, they can just quickly search for your name as the practitioner and find you in their personal database, which is their email, and then they can convey that or forward that right to the office right there. So I think whether it's an x-ray, whether it's the report of findings, whether it's a posture array system that people are doing, having access to information is so important, and having shared ability of that information helps the patient communicate better, because even me, I have x-rays on my phone. I can't tell you what they say, but I guarantee you, if I have the x-ray file and I show it to you right now, you're like, oh yeah, that's what's going on. It would just speed up the process of understanding me especially if I'm in a trauma case and you're like, all right, this is what it looked like before. This is what it looks like now. Now we have something objective to work off of.
Right now, but isn't that, and my whole intent of doing that is to kind of mimic what happens in sports chiropractic or in sports medicine. Because if someone comes to the sideline, I'm not the guy running out and taking care of that person or assessing that person. There are trained health professionals that are much better and better trained than I am in doing that. So the athletic trainer may go out, the primary care may go out, the ortho may go out. That player comes to the sideline and they're the ones making that call. Do you need to see the PT? Do you need to see the athletic trainer? Should you get x-rayed, or do you need to see the chiropractor? And those decisions are made in a snap. You don't have to get a referral. During a game, our job is to get that guy healthy back into play.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle.
And that's what we do in our office here. That's our mentality here, to collectively work together, find out the best solution to get that person back active and staying that way, whether their game is football or their game is driving a truck. Doesn't matter.
Well, I love our conversation so far today. I want to go back and focus a little bit more on you. What are you doing to keep yourself healthy? I know we've all been lambasted over the past couple of years with what we should do, what we shouldn't do. But I'm sure you have some clarity what you've decided to do and how you've been carrying on. So share with us some of your wisdom of what you do to stay healthy day to day.
Well, I'll give you the rated G version. I have a philosophy that in order to take care of number one, you have to take care of number one, right? So if number one in your life is your family or your kids or your practice, whatever it is, you have to take care of yourself. So physically, and this is one of the hardest things for chiropractors to do because they are so into their work, so dedicated to their work. Sports chiropractic brings in a different degree of being a even more of a knucklehead, to be so passionate about what you do that you rarely leave time for yourself. So I try to carve out into my schedule. I don't care if it's 30 minutes. I don't care if it's 20 minutes, but I'm going to do something physical for myself at least 4 times a week. And hopefully it ends up more than that. I've surrounded myself with healthy, like-minded people that are doing the same thing, like my wife and my daughter and a couple of my friends but you know what? A lot of times it's me. And I enjoy, as bad as it is for my body, I enjoy going for a short run. I'm happy with 2, 3, 4. If I get up to 5 miles, beautiful. But I'll put that together with doing a lot of simple band work and bar work and the simple things. I don't belong to a gym. I don't have all this fancy, even though we have a rehab center here, I don't even use it. It's keeping it simple, using your body weight, but you've got to keep yourself physically well so you can take care of the people around you, including your patients.
I love the philosophy, take care of you first and you can serve other people. And
well, it's the flight attendant philosophy, right? In the event of an emergency, oxygen's going to fall from the sky. Take it for yourself first before you start helping people around you. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that, health is a decision and it's a daily decision. And I think you hit it right on the head. Most people think that health comes from a gym. Well, it comes from a system and routine and accountability. And I always like to tell people this: no one can do your push-ups for you.
Yep.
Like, you have to be the active participant.
Hey, and no one can. You can't adjust yourself. So our doctors get together. There's myself and 3 others here. We're very fortunate to have each other. And people always ask, well, who takes care of you? Well, it's the 3 people around that you see. And it's a matter of helping each other not only get well, but stay well.
Yeah, my mom always used to tell me that you're only as good as the company that you keep. And it's important to have good people around you to take care of you. So I think that that's a really good talking point for people. Chiropractors that are watching this or listen to this, or friends and families of chiropractors that watch this and listen to this, make sure you're getting adjusted too. Make sure you have your chiropractor that is your primary that you go to get checked and adjusted as necessary. I think that a public service announcement needs to be said every once in a while, because as you know, working in the chiropractic arena, a lot of chiropractors, they might not be getting adjusted as frequently or as regular as they should.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more granular about the business of chiropractic. You've been in practice 35 years. Let's talk a little bit about the next 20. What do you see happening within chiropractic? And can we future pace people with your ideas around the profession?
Um, I think, it, given the pandemic, given the opioid crisis, which continues, and in many cases has gotten worse, given everything that's going on, and my message when I'm teaching at schools or at organizations is there's no better time to be in the involved in the chiropractic profession than now. Um, there's become a greater demand. There has become, in the workplace, getting people back to work healthier, safer, requires, as part of their team, requires us, and there aren't enough of us to go around. A good friend of mine, Dr. Spencer Barron, did some research, and it's a slide that I use all the time to say, yes, all the NFL teams have chiropractors. 31 out of the 32 Major League Baseball teams do. Most of the NBA does. 3/4 of the hockey teams do. But yet there's deficiency at the collegiate level. Like only a third of all colleges have an official chiropractor on staff. So there's a lot of opportunity there. And breaking that down to the youth levels, there aren't enough of us, as I said earlier, to be able to service the people that we could affect. Look, Sports Illustrated came out with this article talking about why kids quit sports. And it turns out that in both boys and girls, about a third of them quit because of injury. Now, wait a minute. That, to me, that does not, a third quit because of injury. To me, it sounds like they hurt something, it didn't get fixed, they didn't get back into it. They become less active. Now they're going to become a burden to us financially. So putting that aside, there's a great opportunity to educate parents, coaches, kids on how to stay well, prevention, and then if something goes wrong, finding the right healthcare professional to take care of that injury and get you back. And then, once you're back, by the way, what a great time to maintain that health and wellness. Why not do
Amen.
something more regular? Why not? What separates good athletes from great athletes is the more you do to help yourself get yourself to that next level.
Well, I really believe what you said. And this goes back to marketing and branding, that if chiropractors wanted to help more people and they started out with like a youth sports team, that's community outreach. They're building relationships with at least 20 families now.
Yeah.
And those families are going to see the service provided to that team, and it's going to create a buzz about that chiropractor as being a professional, being there for the community, and being there as to provide service. And I'll tell you, when I was 16 years old, I hurt myself playing high school football, and my athletic trainer told me to go to Palmer College of Chiropractic and get x-rays on my shoulder. When I went to Palmer College of Chiropractic and got x-rays on my shoulder, the staff doctor there asked if it was okay to my mother if I got x-rays on my spine as well. My mom said, sure. Ever since that day, I've been one of the biggest advocates for the profession of chiropractic because it made me perform better as an athlete. I went on to a 4-year college scholarship to play soccer. I really believe that human performance is all enhanced. And had I not gotten that chiropractic intervention when I was 16, I may not have gone on to be a high level athlete. And I may have been one of those people that quit because of injury. So I tell you, it is so important for curbing liability on long term when it comes to health and human performance. And when people fall out of care when it comes to being an athlete, they always know. I always knew when I wasn't getting adjusted, I wasn't sprinting as fast. I knew when I wasn't getting adjusted, I'd have a little thing in my hip. I knew that when I wasn't getting adjusted, I wasn't performing as good on the field. So I think you're spot on when that that chiropractors flying down to Atlanta to fill in to be a chiropractor for that sports team. People need it for human performance. And that's what people are starting to wake up to. They're starting to wake up to that it's not just about the motor vehicle accidents, and it's not just about the whiplashes and the slip and falls and the pain. It's about performance, and it's about keeping people out of the pill mill. It's about keeping people off of, feeling. See, the thing that most people don't think about, that's why I open it up, Dr. Allen. I say it's about connecting man, the physical, to man, the spiritual, because emotionally, when somebody isn't getting proper care, they don't feel good. And that has its own quotient for performance. And that's the emotional intelligence. When you don't feel good, your emotional intelligence starts to diminish. And that means that the person's not doing more. So care, then they have a group of people that are willing to look after them for all health needs, and they're networked in with the local community healthcare providers. Now we're starting to take care of people. And that's what's going to make chiropractic so powerful as we both continue our journeys together, is because people are not going in for the classic cases anymore. They're going in for preventative care. And I guess that takes me to the next question for you. It's not scripted, but do you think that the adjusting videos on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, do you think that that's helping or hurting the profession?
Um, I mean, you could look at it, it's gray hair for what hair I have left. So it might be the OG point of view. But I can't tell you how many new patients a month come in with a video on their phone. They say, "Hey, can you do this to me?" And I
Mhm.
said, "No, but the door's right there."
Mm.
Um, I personally think it is a disservice to show some of the things that are being done, and I think it misrepresents our profession for what we do and how we do it. It was funny. I read something an electrician wrote that said, it may only take me 5 minutes to change that circuit breaker in your panel, but it was the years of education and training that got me to be able to do that in 5 minutes. So you're not paying for my 5 minutes of time, you're paying for the knowledge of what I do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how true is that? And in cases where people are seeing the end result of some wacky move that makes a lot of noise with some sort of apparatus upside down in whatever position, no, no, no. So I am against it.
Well,
I have two young girls, so I know what's out there. I know it's like number one, but I'm also very clear when I talk to patients, like we are not going to be doing that, and we're not going to do that, and this is why.
I love that. I love that you're so honest and real about it, because I look at it from both ways. Um, People want to set themselves apart on social media and get a following, but I also, when I open up this interview, I said we protect the sacred trust. And I think that when people understand that, um, I tell people just in general, I'm not a chiropractor, but I always let people know that when you go see a chiropractor, the adjustment's always free. What you're paying for is the 7 years of education and the ability to do the thing that they do that takes them 30 seconds, because that's the part that makes them in the position that they are, that you're going to them with the trouble that you have and you expect them to take care of it. Well, why don't you go to somebody else that wasn't called a chiropractor to fix that? Because they can't fix it. Okay. And that's the problem with people's perception, is they think that because they watch something on a social media app that they can say, hey, come do this thing to me. No, I check, I detect, I correct, and I let your body heal. And I think that that's the part that people have to be impressed upon, is, yeah, watch all the YouTube videos you want, but when you come to my clinic or your clinic, this is what we do. And if you
Right.
want to go see that person that does that thing, there's plenty of airplane miles out there.
Yeah. So you brought up a few things, and you went through this progression of what should happen. But and since it's free speech, right?
Yeah,
I'm
let's go.
So one of the biggest disservices I think our profession as a profession does to the public is we don't take the time to educate patients what to do to help themselves. Maybe we'll spend some time and we'll talk to them about, yes, these are the things you're doing to hurt yourself that you should avoid. Like if you have a stand-up desk, to know to move it up and down. If you have to stand for a long time, do this. If you have to drive for a while, do that. Okay. We chiropractors are, as a profession, are great communicators and should be doing all that. But a treatment plan for a patient should not be, I'm going to see you 3 days a week until your insurance runs out or until you can't afford to pay me anymore. That's a disservice. If we are not asking people to do things to help themselves get better, big disservice. Like, what exercise, what can I do to support what you're doing for me, instead of me having to show up here and pay you 3 times a week? That, to me, I would rather have a patient. I'm going to adjust them. I'll give them some exercises to do. They come back in a year. I haven't seen them in a year. And I'd rather have them come back and say, oh, you know what? I messed up. I didn't do my exercises. I know you said to come in once a month. I know I'm back. So take care of me. Instead of, hey, you know what? I went to Dr. So-and-so down the street and he gave me these exercises to do. And now that I do them, and he taught me how to sit at my desk better. And then he taught me and showed me about nutrition, which I don't do nutrition, but we do a disservice by not providing patients the ability to help themselves. And along those lines, Clint Eastwood once said, a man's got to know his limitations. And for me, that's nutrition. There are some people in our profession that are rock stars. I am not one of them. When in doubt, I refer that out. But as far as the other stuff goes, the exercises, absolutely.
Yeah. I love the conversation with you today. I know we're coming up on the edge of our time together. We didn't even get to all the questions I had laid out for us today. If people want to learn more about you or they want to get in touch with you, where can I send them to? Any web addresses or any contact information?
Sure. Well, our office web address is yalich.com, YALICH.com. I'm on Facebook, and if my account doesn't get hacked again, but I think it's under the real Alan Sokoloff. I'm sure I'll have to change that again. I am so OG. My social media skills are terrible, but I'm trying to put everything together, all these things that I've learned, and I'm going to mash it together and put it into a class, to make it available for everybody, because there are so many opportunities out there, and there's no better time than now to do what we do.
Well, Dr. Allen, I love and appreciate you, man. You're 389 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I wanted to ask you so many more things. Time just got out.
Well, we'll do whatever 389 times 2. We'll do it again. One more time.
Yeah, we're going for 1,000 shows. So I'll definitely have you back on as a guest if you enjoyed it.
Beautiful. Thanks for having me, Jim. I appreciate it.
Until next time, have a great day, and everybody out there, keep hustling. And thank you for being our guest today. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.